in old Japan, there lived a very elderly couple. And they were very happy together. And they cared for each other, they loved each other. But there was one thing they wanted that they could never have. They wanted a child. And every day they would pray to their local shrine for a child, even if he was only the size of their thumb, only an inch high. They would not mind, they would love him. And very soon, they did bear a child. And yes, he was only the size of your thumb, an inch high. And they named him Isumboshi, a name which I don't know what means. And Isumboshi's mother stitched clothes for him, because normal-sized clothes wouldn't fit, he was far too small. And when she was done with the clothes, she gave him the needle that she stitched them with, especially stitched so he could use it as a sword. And Isumboshi's father, when Isumboshi was old enough, he would take Isumboshi to the forest and they would hunt for food. Now, one day, Isumboshi went to his parents and he voiced his most secret of opinions. He thought that he wasn't doing enough with his life. He said to his mother and father, he said, "Mother, Father, I want to do something with my life. I want to become the most important little person there's ever been. I want to go to the city and make something of my life." Well, Isumboshi's mother did not like this idea. She, was very worried about her son. He was her only son and she was very protective. But she wanted what was best for him, and Isumboshi eventually won her around. Now, Isumboshi's father, he was not too bothered by this idea, so he let Isumboshi go. And Isumboshi took their soup bowl and their chopstick, and he put it in the stream, and he hopped in, and he sailed downstream, so he could go to the city. Now, he arrived, and he dragged his soup bowl and chopstick ashore, and he looked up, and he saw just how big the walls were, and the gates, which he could not force open. And he looked for several days for a way to get in, till eventually he found a small crack and he crawled through. And once he finally reached the inside of the city, he saw the size of everyone else. They were huge. He walked a few steps and BAM! There's a foot sitting right next to him. A foot! 4 times the size of him. And he takes a couple of steps forward, a bit worried by the giant foot next to him. BAM! There's another one! And this keeps on happening, and as Isumboshi runs, he tries to attract people's attention, calling them over, saying, "Hello! Please, can you tell me where I can find work?" Till eventually someone helps him, and they point him toward the centre of the city, telling him to look for the wrought iron gates with the dragons. And he goes into the centre, and he eventually finds these gates, and they were magnificent. And again, they were huge, and he couldn't open them, so he banged on them, and he said, "Hello!" No response. Banged on them some more and yelled louder, "Hello!" No response. And for a third time, he smashed the door and he, "Hello!" No, nothing. And he was about to walk away when the gate behind him opened and an old man wearing a robe walked out. "Thought I heard someone calling," said the old man. "Oh well, must be my imagination." And he was about to place his foot down, the foot which little Isumboshi was sitting under, when Isumboshi tapped the sandal. "Hello? Out here?" "Hello?" And the old man, he bends down and he picks Isumboshi up and he says, "Well, aren't you nice?" "Yes, that's what I'll do. I'll give you to the princess as a birthday gift." And the old man walks away to the inside of the house. Now this old man was the vizier to the king, and it was the princess's birthday very soon. And the vizier didn't actually have anything to give her, so Isumboshi became that gift. Well, when the princess saw Isumboshi, she loved him. She liked everything, but Isumboshi she liked more. and Isumboshi proved his skills as a guard, and so he was assigned to be a personal guard. And one day they were coming back from the shrine of Kannon, which is a Japanese god. And they were passing a forest, when out of the forest came 2 red-skinned demons. Black hair, horns, teeth and claws, everything in nastiness and more. And they pick the princess up, they bundle her on onto one shoulder, and they're about to storm back into the forest. And Isumboshi draws his sword and he says, "Let my princess go!" And the demons look at each other, look away, and they look back, and they can't see anyone. One glances down, and he bends over and he picks Isumboshi up by the needle, and he says to him, he says, "Little man, I'm going to eat you now." And he lifts Isumboshi above his head. He tilts his head back, and he opens his gullet. And he swallows Isenboshi whole. Now Isenboshi soon learned that the inside of a demon's stomach is very, very dark. And he felt a thud next to him, and he put his hand out and he felt his sword and he drew it. And the jiggling of the stomach suddenly stopped. But he couldn't sit around. His princess was in danger. And so he got up, avoiding pools of stomach acid, trying to avoid everything inside the stomach itself. And he begins to walk around the stomach, stabbing every now and then. Until eventually the jiggling around the stomach gets worse and worse, and Isenboshi gets faster and faster, running and jumping around the inside of the stomach, stabbing, punching, everywhere, until eventually the demon.
Oh no.
He can't contain it.
Oh no!
And he vomits Isenboshi out of his stomach. Isenboshi lands on the floor, sprawled. He's covered in sick. And he picks up his sword. And he looks at the other demon. And he points his sword at it. And it picks him up for the second time. But Isenboshi is covered in sick. He slips out of the demon's grasp, lands on the demon's nose, spins 360 degrees, cuts the demon's eyes. And both demons are now writhing on the floor in pain. They drop the princess, and eventually they get up and they run away back to their forest home.
Nice carpet.
Yes, and a mallet. Well, to Isenboshi, it's just a black shape. And he taps it and he looks at it and he can't see what it is. And he calls the princess down. Princess, princess, what is this? And she bends down and she picks it up and she says, this is a magic mallet, Isenboshi. They say it's a demon's gift, and that if you shake it and you think of the wish you wish to become true, it will become real. And Isenboshi looked up at her and he said, Princess, will you please make me big? And she goes, yes, certainly. And she begins to swing the hammer, says, make Isenboshi big, make Isenboshi big, make Isenboshi big. And she eventually tapped him on the head, and he began to grow, growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and growing until he was the size of a normal person. And his clothes, well, were tiny. He was covered in sick and his needle swords. Not quite so important and cool anymore. But no one looked at his small clothes or the lack thereof. And the fact that he was covered in sick, they looked at his face, because it turned out that Isenboshi was incredibly handsome.
Hey.
Well, they eventually went back to the palace. And the vizier, several weeks after this, went to Isenboshi and said, well, Isenboshi, would you marry the princess? And Isenboshi replies, and he says yes. And it so happens that earlier that day, Isenboshi had gone on one knee and asked the princess to marry him. She had said yes. Now, at the wedding, they invited Isenboshi's parents, and they wept, not from having their best soup bowl and chopstick back, no. Because they had their son the way he should have been from forever. Now, soon after this, the king, he died. And Isenboshi took up the seat, he took up the mantle of the king. There are many endings to this story. No one really knows what happens. I hear that he became a demon slayer, renounced his mantle. But I do know that he became Isenboshi the king, the demon slayer.
Yeah.